Proving it was a huge challenge.
It's a cash business. That's something you have to kind of consider about casinos in general, and particularly in that era. All cash. There's no record. How much money did you make today? Pick a number.
To end the mob's reign, law enforcers would have to prove the existence of the skim, the way the mob siphoned off millions of dollars a month while leaving no trace in the casino's official accounts.
Nobody was tracking it because it didn't exist for all intents and purposes. And those mob guys, much like business people today, the game becomes, how much money can I make?
In 1979, as part of a major government initiative, FBI agents were dispatched to Vegas to drive the mafia out of the city. Lynn Ferrin spearheaded the efforts to find evidence of the skim.
Everybody was just invigorated by the chance to really do something that would have national impact.
Emmett Michaels supervised the Bureau's surveillance efforts.
We had to come in here and replant the American flag.
And Dennis Arnoldi was assigned to bring Tony Spilotro and his criminal gang to justice.
We were going to keep the pressure on these guys at all time. We had the manpower and the resources, and so we used them.
But bringing down the mob in Vegas was never going to be easy. Corruption in the judicial system was rife, and the mafia was swift and brutal when it came to silencing rivals or potential witnesses.
Their purpose was to make money for themselves, and it didn't matter what they had to do, they did it. If it involved the killing, they did it.
Faced with this challenge, the FBI launched one of the largest surveillance operations ever undertaken on the mob. Suspects were monitored and photographed.
We did it the hard way. Now we can do everything with computers and satellites. We don't have to do all that physical, eyes-on kind of work.
Agents also secretly installed bugs and wiretaps in casinos and known mafia hangouts throughout Vegas.
You're trying to be secretive, go in as maintenance man, and plant a bug inside of a room where these guys would meet. It gets very hairy.
Receiving the lion's share of the FBI's attention was Tony Spilotro and his suspected associates in the hole-in-the-wall gang. The surveillance produced thousands of hours of tape, allowing agents to piece together a picture of Spilotro's criminal empire. FBI agents also worked hard to find informants within his organization. In this actual recording, Spilotro is overheard discussing a suspected mole.
Yeah, guy's name is Sy. Well, there ain't nothing to it. I mean, I know the guy's a rat, and I told him that. Oh, okay. Well, if he shows up with him, it'll be a surprise to me. I'm telling you, he won't, because he knows how I feel about him.
Increasingly paranoid about surveillance and about potential informants, Spilotro started taking ever more drastic action to keep the authorities at bay. In October 1979, he received a tip-off that fellow gangster Jerry Lisner was talking to the feds.
Tony said, we got to whack this guy. So then I put it together, and I went over to Lisner's house that same night, and I opened up the door, and that's when I proceeded to kill him, shoot him in the head.
The following morning, Jerry Lisner was found floating in his Vegas swimming pool. Tony Spilotro had managed to silence one government witness, but the execution would have lasting repercussions.
To murder a government witness is a very, very serious federal violation. And that allowed the FBI to really get into the matter.
Spilotro had raised the stakes in the battle to control Vegas and made himself the FBI's #1 target. And it soon became clear to his right-hand man, Frank Culotta, that many of their crimes hadn't been sanctioned by the bosses in Chicago.
One of my particular trips back to Chicago, I had to see the boss. And he says, "Who's killing everybody out there?" He says, "I don't know." And then I thought to myself, isn't Tony getting an okay from Chicago to do half of this stuff?
Tony Spilotro wasn't the only target in the FBI's sights. To oust the mafia from Vegas forever, they had to sever its financial lifeline, the skim. The Fed's strategy was to follow the money, physically to track cash skimmed from the casinos all the way to the mob in Chicago. In mid-1980, agents received their first break.
We were fortunate enough to develop a confidential informant inside of this criminal organization, inside the mob at Las Vegas.
The informant worked at the Stardust, a casino known to be illegally owned by the Chicago mob.
We had information that there was money being moved from the Stardust on a monthly basis back to Chicago.
The information led agents to Stardust employee Phil Ponto, a man who made an ideal courier.
Ponto was living a very Spartan life. He didn't show money. He didn't have a big house. He lived a very low, quiet life. The perfect kind of player for the skimming efforts.
After extensive surveillance, agents saw Ponto leaving his house carrying a brown paper bag.
Sunday morning, he comes down with the package. He puts it in his car, gets in his car.
And then he drove slowly around the neighborhood with the brown paper bag for a couple of hours until he was certain that no one was following him.
Ponto's maneuvers suggested he was an old hand at evading surveillance.
He always used to do U-turns. He would be going down the street like this and then all of a sudden flip around and just go back the other direction. And, you know, we're all cursing because we're all positioning to try to get on him. He was always changing it up.
For 2 hours, Ponto ducked and dived. Then, apparently satisfied that no one was tailing him, he pulled into the parking lot of a hardware store where he handed the brown paper bag to another man.
The individual takes the package, puts it in his car, and we follow him and take him to the airport.
Before leaving his vehicle, the man was seen taking big wads of cash from the bag and stuffing it into his suit pockets. And just as the FBI suspected he would, the man later boarded a plane bound for Chicago.
And agents there recognized him as an individual named Joseph Tallarico.
Tallarico had strong ties to the Chicago mob. For the FBI, it was the final link in a chain that carried the Stardust Casino's millions all the way to its secret mafia owners. But arresting the couriers wouldn't give the feds enough evidence to nail the mob. The FBI still faced a major hurdle: to prove that the cash in the brown paper bag originated from the gaming tables of the Stardust. Meanwhile, law enforcers were increasing the pressure on Tony Spilotro. The Vegas Police Intelligence Bureau had a new commander, Kent Clifford, a Vietnam veteran determined to drive the mafia out of town.
I wasn't afraid of them. I'd been in war. I'd been shot at every day for a year. So I was not afraid of Tony Spilotro.
Under Clifford's command, the police would take a far more confrontational approach.